it is time to go ahead and get started. Hey, welcome to At the Track Live. My name is Coach James. I am the creator and lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics? Glad you asked. Even if you didn't ask, All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about a range of science and physics related topics, including but not limited to aerodynamics, drag, lift, Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, kinetic energy, potential energy, elastic energy, force, downforce, a whole range of topics. After we have learned the science topics, after we've conducted experiments to drive those concepts home, then and only then do I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars, and each student selects a Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything they've learned in the course. After they have selected their car, they examine their car, they weigh their car, they test the speed of their car, they take a picture of their car, they enter information into a spreadsheet, the year the car was manufactured. Every detail that they can observe, they enter into the spreadsheet and they document. And then after they have documented all the information, after they've learned the science, after they've selected their cars, then we set up a tournament and all of the students get a chance to race their cars and observe how their cars performed on the track. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And if they had the chance, would they select that car again? They make their observations. We learn about science. We have fun with Hot Wheels cars. What could be better? All About Aerodynamics is a great program, and if you would like more information about it, you can contact me by going to our Instagram account, AA Aerodynamics, and you can send me a message, or you can find links in the bio that will take you to our website, AAAerodynamics.com, and you can read about the science program in greater detail. And I've been mentioning before that there is an online program that I've been revamping and reworking, and everything is pretty much set to go. And I will start doing some promotion for that. Probably, if everything goes according to plan, starting this week and into the new year, the online program will be available for students who are outside of the Southern California area. And just looking to grow the program and have some fun with Hot Wheels cars and learn some science. But this is not all about aerodynamics. This is All About Aerodynamics presents At the Track Live. So what is At the Track Live? Before I can bring all the cars into the classroom for the students to use, I have to make sure I know which cars I'm bringing in so I can make sure that I am taking those same cars back and keeping them organized so that they're ready to go for the next group of students. And usually what that means is I have to go into storage, pull out the Hot Wheels cars that I haven't opened yet, crack those open, take a picture, take a little video, enter the information into the spreadsheet, and then the car is ready to go. But about a year ago, I decided, how do I make this a more enjoyable task? And I came up with the idea for At the Track Live. And so what happens is I pull out 6 cars out of storage, or 6 cars that I have recently purchased. Crack those open, we take a look at those, do a little review, take a picture, I enter the information into the spreadsheet, and then take those 6 cars, and since the track is already set up, our 1/64th scale quarter-mile drag strip is already set up, lined up, and ready to go, then why not have a race? So we have a tournament every Saturday with the 6 cars that are selected, and based on those cars, we're going to come out with a winner. That winner is going to then have the opportunity to challenge our fastest in fleet car. What is the fastest in fleet car? The fastest in fleet car is the fastest car in the All About Aerodynamics fleet. And that car currently is this car. It is the Gazella R. And the Gazella R became our fastest in fleet car, our fastest in fleet champion, a few weeks back when it defeated the Blitz Speeder, which was our most dominant car to that point. And the Gazella R has held up to the title. It's defended its fastest in fleet championship twice so far, and we'll see what it can do this week. But because this is At The Track Live, the point of it being live is that there's an opportunity for everyone who is viewing live to participate. And to participate, all you have to do is, you see the address, there's a QR code, all that below. If you go to AtTheTrack.live, you will have three options. One is the YouTube link, one is the Twitch link. The third option, the important one, if you're watching right now, is the choose a car option. If you select that option, you will be taken to this page where all of the cars in the All About Aerodynamics At The Track Live fleet are listed and cataloged, and you can scroll through. You can take a look at all the cars that we have in the fleet. There are cars from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and even we have two new for 2025 cars. So cars from way back all the way up to cars from just last week. And there are trucks, there are cars, there are character cars, there are fantasy cars, there are, here's this one, this Ferrari California. There you go. If that's the car that you think is going to be the fastest in the fleet this week, then all you have to do is select that car, take the number that is in front of the car, in this case 95, and you will drop that in the chat, and then I will pull that car, and that will be one of the 6 cars that ends up being selected to race. Maybe you want to scroll down, maybe you want to go completely left field, and you think that this hovercraft is going to, for some reason, be the fastest car. You can go ahead and pick it. You can click on the picture, take a closer look, and try and figure out why on earth you would pick this, thinking that this would be the fastest. But if that is your pick, that's your right, that's your option. All you have to do is take the number, in this case 112, drop it in the chat, I will pick it up. Or maybe you want to go old school, and you said, wait a minute, I see this car, the rear ender. And this is a car that I had when I was a kid, and it came, there was a set, and they all had this gimmick where a part of the car, if you banged into it, it would flip over and show damage. So this one, the rear ender, you can't see it here, but the back end looks like a normal bumper. But then if you bang another Hot Wheels car into it, the bumper flips over and shows all this damage, and the lid on the hood, or not the hood, the trunk, the hatchback hatch flies up. And there's another one that I have where the damage is in the front, and a third one where the damage is on the door panel on the right side. And again, you just hit it and it flips over. These cars are not fast. They are old school 80s Hot Wheels cars, and you can see they are metal on metal, and they are heavy. And I ended up, I used to play with my cars. I was not a Hot Wheels collector any more than I would just, ask my parents for a car, and if I got one, I'd crack it open and play with it. There was no saving it for mint on card, conditioning, none of that. I just played with the cars. And a lot of the cars that I still have from the 80s, because I played with them, the axles are bent and I can't use them to race. Not that they would necessarily be fast, but there are some in there. The first 2 cars that are listed, in fact, were the first 2 Hot Wheels cars I ever owned, and they came with this stow and go inside track raceway. and it's this front-running Fairmont with the gold Hot Ones wheels, and this Murata Stalker, and also with the gold Hot Ones wheels. And if you watch any of the gravity track races on YouTube, these two cars still do very well. But on our track, they're just too heavy to really do, to compete with the kinds of cars that are really doing well. And the car that's doing the best right now is, in fact, the Gazella R, which is a fantasy car. And so we've had a trend recently with fantasy cars that have plastic bodies and metal bases doing particularly well on the track. And we are going to see if that trend continues. What's up, Roughshod? Roughshod coming through with his pick. And so let's go ahead and see what... okay. So our current fastest in fleet car is the Gazella R. Roughshod has gone. He's going with the previous model, the Gazella GT. So let's scroll down to 428 and take a look at the Gazella. The Gazella GT. So I'm looking at the Gazella GT, and I will pull this car in a little while, and then we'll take a closer look at it. But just from this picture, and just I'm glancing over at the Gazella R and then the Gazella GT, trying to see if I can tell what the differences are. And my quick kind of observation just seems that the major difference and the main difference is that the Gazella R has a wing in the back. And so if we're taking a look at this one, that's the Gazella GT, and I will pull that in a little bit. But if we take a look here, you can see that, the big difference with these two is that this one has this wing in the back. So we'll see if how much of a difference that makes. Perhaps the cars they should, just at a glance, they look similar. Similar style, similar shape, but there's probably some little subtle differences, but the most obvious difference is this wing. So we will see if Roughshod's pick of the Gazella, let me just write this number down so I remember when I go pull that car. We will see if that is going to be the car that takes out the current fastest in fleet car. The current fastest in fleet car, which is the Gazella. So we have, let's see here. I'm trying to figure out which cars to go with, because ideally I should be going back to the storage unit and pulling cars out of there. But it's the holiday season, and I think that stores knew, hey, people are coming in, buying things. So the Walmart that I go to, that usually the pegs are pretty empty, all of a sudden they had big dump bins and displays, Hot Wheels cars left and right. And most of the stores were like that. So I've picked up some cars here and there, and I'm probably going to just go to that pack of cars, and then eventually I'll work my way back to the storage unit. But let's see here. I found, Roughshod, same at your Walmart. Yeah, Walmart spends 10 months out of the year, 10, 11 months, and you go in there and it's the same cars, nothing, same old thing. And then boom, Christmas time. So I'm just going to enjoy it and be happy that they stocked up. And I was looking through and pulling out cars, and in some cases I was picking cars. And it's crazy because I have the spreadsheet on my phone, so I could easily, before I could pick up a car, look at the spreadsheet and see, okay, I have this one, and not buy it. But I end up not doing that. I just see a car, it appeals to me, pick it up. And worst case scenario is if I already have a duplicate of the car, it goes into the prize bin, and one of the students gets to select that. So now something I did see at Walmart, which these aren't going to be a part of the pack, but I ran across these, and maybe Roughshod, you've probably seen these too. Circuit Samurai 1/64 scale die-cast cars, and apparently there are 10. They had two of these 5-packs there at the Walmart that I was at, but the cars really don't look all that different. And like between the 2 packs, you can see here, and it's really kind of hard to distinguish like the differences between the cars on either side. So I just bought 1 pack. And so I have an idea of what I'm going to do with these cars. And then there's those Metal Machine cars and there's some other brand. And the thing is, so when my son and I used to race Hot Wheels cars, basically doing all about aerodynamics and at the track, we were doing that just in our living room, weighing the cars, racing the cars. We had to have a rule because there were these sort of these cheap Chinese-made die-cast cars that were basically hollow on the inside and plastic bodies with a little bit of metal, and they were really fast because they were really light and there was nothing inside. And we always set those aside, and we had to keep our races strictly to Hot Wheels cars because we knew that Hot Wheels sort of had a consistent manufacturing standard, and we could rely on that. Whereas like the random cars, just, who knows? So what are they called? The Circuit Samurai cars, the Metal Machine cars. What I want to do is I want to have some other races with these versus the Hot Wheels cars, because most of these, if you look at them long enough, you can tell that they're modeled after certain Hot Wheels cars. And so what I want to do is find the Hot Wheels car that matches up against for lack of a better term, the knockoff versions, and then have a series of races. But I don't want to do that with AtTheTrack.live, because these cars that actually get cracked open end up in the fleet. I don't know if these cars can be in there, because one, it's going to depend on how they're constructed, how much they weigh, and like Roughshod said, they feel pretty light in the single pack. So they look to be, without cracking them open, they look to just be plastic on plastic, and maybe it's metal, but yeah, it's just that hey, Texas Gold, weight got an issue. Yeah, it's I'd have to weigh these and see. Now, if they fall in that same range, because most of the Hot Wheels cars that we end up racing fall in that range of about 32 grams to 36, like somewhere in there. If they're in that range, then perhaps. But if I weigh one of these and it comes in and it's like 23 grams, I don't know. So what I'm gonna do, I'll end up having the races, but I've got to figure out how to do it. I want to do it separate from the regular At The Track Live, and maybe something during the week, because I have all these random races that I want to have. I want to see how these cars perform, but I am not going to introduce these into the fleet and the cars that I take to use with the students, because then it just introduces a whole bunch of other variables that I haven't accounted for. So I might pick up the other pack, but really, again, they just don't look all that different. If I've got the pack on the left, then I seem like I have the pack on the right. So there's some cool graphics on them, but they really need to do more to kind of distinguish the different body styles. And so we'll see. The Circuit Samurai only tournament. You know what? That's a good idea. I might do that. And actually, I might go back and buy the other pack. But what I'm going to do, again, because they look so similar, I'm gonna need to take a picture to make sure I don't buy the same one again. But yeah, we'll see. Circuit Samurai. There's some of those Metal Machines cars. Those Metal Machines are really, they're pretty bold about knocking off the Hot Wheels, because I've got a clearly what was a bone shaker of the Metal Machines, and a few others that are clearly Hot Wheels cars. But enough about that. Let's see which cars we're going to get into today. Unless there's a major difference from the Hot Wheels. Yeah, it was usually the weight. The weight was always the thing. And when my son and I raced, there were just certain cars that we knew they were going to be fast, but it was because they were just these cheap knockoffs from China that, again, they were just hollow plastic, but they were fast. And on this track, with the launcher that I designed and with all the force, those cars would probably just fly off the track anyway. So we'll see. So, all right, let's get into it. The first car that I picked up, I hadn't seen this one before, and I'm gonna have to check, because sometimes I'll end up picking up a car that has a different color scheme than the one that I already picked up, but something about it appeals to me, so I pick it up. Let me check. Oh, Texaco. The fastest car you ever had was a Matchbox. Do you happen to know which one it was? Because usually if somebody has a car that they know is fast, then I'll go on eBay and try to pick it up, as long as it's not too much. Okay, from the yeah. So see, when you start going back to the 70s, I have a few 70s Matchbox cars, but I played with those like all the time, and they're too beat up to put on the track, so I can't do anything with them. And when I've gone on eBay to try and replace those, they're more money than I want to spend for a car that just has some sentimental value, especially when I have the actual car that I played with here. So that has the real sentimental value. I would just be buying a car to see if it was fast. Oh, you ruined it. Yeah, some of those cars, I mean, I got the inside. It's called, I've seen it on eBay. I just haven't bought it, because why buy it? But it's called the Inside Track Stow and Go Inside Track Raceway, and it was a little box, and you flipped it open, and then it had a track that pulled out. It was only about 6 feet. If you go on our website, aaerodynamics.com, and go to the about section, at the bottom of that, there's a picture of me. I'm probably 8 at home playing with this Stow and Go Raceway. But anyway, you extended out the track about 6 feet, put the cars in there, and it was a drag race. And that was always, it was a flat drag strip, and that is how and why I'm into that type of racing versus the gravity track, because that's just what I used when I was a kid. And my son, when he got to a certain point and I was buying him Hot Wheels cars, then I went to go look for that similar kind of race drag strip, and found it. And then eventually it just all led to All About Aerodynamics, and the launcher that I had to design, and the raceway that we have, and the races. It all started from childhood. So never stop playing with your Hot Wheels, or whatever it is you collect, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Barbie, whatever it is. Just, if you like it, you like it. Let's see. Manufacturing. Yeah, Matchbox, always hard to keep on the track. Yeah, the Matchbox cars definitely were different back in the days. And now we've had some Matchbox cars in the fleet, but I can't tell, even though Mattel makes both cars, and the Matchbox cars are more true to the actual dimensions of real cars, and the Hot Wheels cars tend to be exaggerated. it seems like there's some difference with the axles and the wheels between the current Matchbox cars and the current Hot Wheels cars, because when we race the Matchbox cars, the tires have these little grooves on the edges that simulate the tread on actual tire, and they make this cool noise going down the track. But the Matchbox cars, just in general, can't hang with the Hot Wheels cars. And you know, maybe there's something different with the actual manufacturing. Maybe it's the aerodynamics. I don't know. But we'll see. I may even have a couple of Matchbox cars we pull out. But the first one for today, we are going with this one. This is the Crescendo. And the reason why I picked this up is because we have been looking at cars. I'm just double checking the spreadsheet to make sure I don't already have one. Let's see. I do not. Okay. So we've got the Crescendo. And the thing is that when we looked at the Blitzspeeder, when we looked at the Gazella R, and some of the other cars that had been doing well, we were starting to see a trend. And that's what I tell the students, that we're racing the cars. Yes, you want your car to win, but we're keeping the data because we want to start to see trends. And after we have hundreds and hundreds of races, we'll start to see what kind of cars tend to do better. And recently we've been seeing with At the Track, fantasy cars that are pretty sleek without the sort of traditional driver's canopy area and windshield are doing better. Now, usually there's a wing. A wing is usually important, but we'll see. So let's crack this one open, the Crescendo, take a closer look, and find out. Let's see. Oh, so Roughshod's saying that there's a new A-Team van. We raced a couple of A-Team vans a few months ago. There was the Hot Wheels one that I picked up at the Hot Wheels diecast swap meet, and then we raced that against the one that I had when I was a kid from what was the company? I forget the company. But they had the licensing to make the A-Team van, and so that was the one that I had, and Hot Wheels didn't come out with one for some years later, but no, I haven't seen that. All right, let's see. Here we go. Let's take a look at the Crescendo here, and we have basically a car that is similar to the other cars that have been doing well recently on the track. So let me go ahead and grab the video first and lock that in. And I will check the weight on this right after. The champ, the Gazella R, is weighing in at 32.3 grams. So that is kind of right in that sweet spot for the cars that have been performing well. And I think, okay, so this is going to be car number 778, the Crescendo. And we are going to see, yeah, so the first thing, as always, that I always bring up, that I always talk about, is looking at the back end and if it's flat. This one seems to be relatively flat in the back, which is good, because our launching block, as I always mention, it's a square block, and so the cars press up against it, and the more surface area that's touching that launching block, the better push the car is going to get out of the launcher. And if it gets a good solid push, it's more likely to stay straight. Cars that have pointed back ends or some weird wing or fin or something don't get good pushes, and they get sent off to one side or the other. And when that happens, it is lights out, because they are not going to be able to stay straight on the track. They're going to hit one side, and then we get into Isaac Newton's third law of motion. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and the car will bounce back and forth from one side to the other. And that little bit of friction as it bounces and rubs against each side of the track slows it down. And once the car gets slowed down, it is going to lose on our track to a car that can stay straight. So let me go ahead and get the still picture. Yeah, this is it's a nice color, good looking car. I think I need some more. Hang on, let me put this back here, get a little more contrast. Just so that I want the students to always be able to see all the details on the car, so they can make a good informed pick. And move that there. And we have our first entrance of the day. Let me see how much this car weighs. This Crescendo is coming in at 33.2 grams. So it's right there. It has the shape. So again, if we put that right next to the Gazella, you can see the similarities. So it's why I picked it up, because I'm starting to see a trend that a certain shape and style of cars is doing better on our tracks. So this is the Crescendo. That is car number 1 for the day, and we will see if that car is going to have what it takes. And again, if you would like to get in on today's races, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live and select the choose a car option. That will take you to this page, and on this page all of our cars are listed. This is the point of me cataloging and taking the pictures of all the cars, all 777 cars. I think I have a few left to do, but all of the cars are here. You can take a look at those. You can click on the car that you want to take a closer look at, and if you see something that you think would be fast, go ahead. Maybe you think it is this Dodge Viper GTS R, the white edition, which suggests I have a duplicate in there somewhere of some other color. You can click on it, take a look at it, and then when you see the number, just take the number, drop it in the chat, and I will pull that. I had one student, he selected this one, and this Pontiac GTO Judge. And so when the students make a pick that to me seems a little strange, given what we've been discussing about aerodynamics and drag and all of that, I was asking him, why did he think that this car, and that's part of it, they have to explain their pick. I don't have a problem with, they can pick whichever car they want, but part of the learning process is them explaining why they picked the car. What's their rationale and their reason? And there was something about the engine sticking up out of the hood. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, but he at least had a good rationale. And of course the car didn't perform all that well. It did perform better than expected, not all that well, but it's why I have so many different types of cars in the fleet, because I want them to have a really hard time trying to decide which car is going to be the one for them. This Turbo Rooster, these cars with these weird aerodynamic profiles, you never know how they're going to perform. So all you have to do is take the number of the car in this case, if it's the Turbo Rooster 189, take that, drop it in the chat. I'll pull the car. It will be one of the 6 cars that gets introduced, and we will go. What's my favorite? Let's see. Pop this up. What's your favorite Hot Wheels car of all time? It's actually in here. I just don't know where it is. It's a, what is the name of it? It is, and we looked at it before. I have a gold Hot Ones version of it, and it is, I know it's in this blue group. It's got some generic name, but I loved the car as a kid. I still have the original. The original one is fast. Did I bring the gold Hot Ones version into the fleet? Maybe I did. I'll find it. You would think, since it's my favorite, I would know the name, but sometimes in the 80s, the cars didn't have the name printed on the bottom like they do now, and so I eventually had to look it up. And I think when I bought another one on eBay, and I had to basically describe the car in Google to eventually find it, because again, the name's not on the bottom of the car. So I'll find it and I'll show you. But here, more importantly, what is your favorite Hot Wheels car? Because if it's in here, I'll pull it and we will take it to the track and race it. That is what we're gonna do. So let's see here. Next up, if we are going to go with, I picked up this one, the Punk Rod. And again, let me just double check the spreadsheet, make sure I don't already have one, because I try not to have duplicate cars in the fleet unless there is some significant difference. Purple Passion. Okay, nope. So now we have this Punk Rod. It was new for 2024. At some point in 2023, it was new for 2024, but now it's new to our fleet. What's it say on the back? The modern day supercar is here, and it's hot rodded. It's a hot rodded masterpiece. It features a V8 powered mid-engine, Mohawk intake, and carbon fiber aero with a swan neck rear wing. Okay, well, all that sounds good. Let's crack it open, take a look. 16 Angels is, let's see. I think I have that. Sounds familiar. Let me take a look. Pull that out. Take this off and go ahead and take a look at the Punk Rod, which is going to be our latest entrant. Let me see if I've got that 16 Angels. 16 Angels, yeah, car number 212. So let me write that down, 212. Take a look at that one right after, get this Punk Rod. So this one, I think when I'm just looking at it, the wing in the back, the flat wing is going to be, that's a plus, because that's going to press right up against the launching block, and that is going to help give this car a good solid push. Let me get the still picture first. And we've got the Punk Rod. And now let's get this video of the car. And it looks like they took a Lamborghini and just sort of chopped off the back end and did a whole other thing. So let's record that and our newest car into the fleet. It comes around. It should be pretty light, I would think, just looking at it based on that the back half of the car, which is not there. We've got, let's see, 779. Yeah, they put the Formula One back. Yeah, that you're right. It's like they took the Lamborghini in the front, Formula One car in the back, And maybe that's the secret. Maybe that's the key. There's something there. So let me get this one in. This is the punk rod. And we have Lamborghinis are always popular picks with the students, always. And I mean, it makes sense because everything we're talking about with aerodynamics and all the different things that they should be looking for when they're making their selections. I guess it would help if I had the light on. Lamborghinis are perfect examples of the sort of basic lessons that we're teaching when we're looking at aerodynamics and drag and all of that. But then there are other factors to consider. So let's see how much the punk rod weighs. It is coming in at 29.8 grams. So it is definitely, it's the lightest car of the group. We've got 32 grams, 33 grams, and now we're coming in with the punk rod at 29. So, you know, it's not always a matter of being the lightest car, but being the lightest car isn't necessarily a bad thing. And let's take a look at the, I'll take a look at the wheels. Roughshode's asking about the wheels here. Let's go back and take a look. So the wheels, it's pretty much got the standard Hot Wheels wheels in the front. It's just that the back wheels are particularly wide. So it's got the wide back wheels and pretty much the standard Hot Wheels wheels right there. And that is what we've got. It's an interesting car because, again, I think that this wing is going to ensure that it gets a good solid push and it's not going to bounce around. It's not a narrow car. It just looks like, if I were to just show this to somebody from the front, it looks like a Lamborghini. If I was to just show them the back end, F1 car. So this one should be a pretty interesting car to see perform on the track. I think we're gonna have, so far, some good solid races. So let's go ahead and take a look. And Jordan's asking about the heaviest car. I don't know about the heaviest Hot Wheels car, but I think the heaviest car that we've had with AtTheTrack.live has been about 45 grams, and which by Hot Wheels standards is pretty heavy. Let's go ahead and take a look at, if I can scroll through, the car that Jordan's talking about that I will pull to race. Car 212, 16 Angels. This one, a fantasy car that is particularly popular, and a lot of the students have picked this car before, and it is a fantasy car, obviously, with a metal base and a plastic body, and it's got a very different kind of aerodynamic profile, and it'll be interesting to see how it does against these cars, at least the Gazella, that we know are very fast, because the cars I kind of remember it racing against, it was a more kind of random assortment, and we'll see. So I will pull that car along with Roughshode's pick, and those will be two cars that will be entered in. So if I count those two cars and the cars that we have, we are already up to 4 cars, 4 out of 6. And it is time to find another car to race. Let's see, let me go into this. Okay, so Jordan said that he used to play the Hot Wheels game on the Nintendo, and yeah, okay, and 16 Angels was featured. So let's go with, we're gonna go with we're going to go with something a little bit. We're going to go with two kind of off the wall picks. Well, wait a minute. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to go with is this one, presuming I don't already have one in the fleet. Picked up this Neon Speeders series car. It's a Mini Cooper S Challenge, and I like to make sure that I throw in like a different mix of cars, because the students, I want them to have a hard choice. And sometimes they think, after we've learned all the lessons, they think, okay, let me go with the smallest, lightest car possible. And there's different reasons why that's good and reasons why that's not so good. But they're thinking through the process. If every car I had was a Lamborghini, Bugatti, some kind of supercar with all the same look and feel, then it wouldn't be much of a choice and they wouldn't have to think as much. But when the cars are so different, then they really have to think through their process. So let me just double check and make sure I don't already have one of these in the fleet. I don't think I do. Mini Cooper. The Minecraft Murata Stalker. No, I do not. So this is going to be the car. The next one entered into the fleet, the Mini Cooper S Challenge. And let's see. And this is another one that usually when I would go to the Walmart, there would be one car from this series there. But when I went last week, all the cars in this, so all these cars they have listed, all 8, plenty of them, all out there. So let me crack this open and we'll take a closer look. Jordan Curry, I don't have all the Neon Speeder cars. I have the Mercedes AMG GT3 race car. I think the I want to say that we had a Mercedes AMG that was our champion. This is a while back. This is like probably even late last year. But there was a Mercedes that did very well on the track and was pretty fast. So let's take a look at this Mini Cooper S Challenge. It's small. It has the back end is it's a little rounded. I think. See, what you can't, it's hard to see, is these little tail pipes here are sticking out. See how they stick out just beyond the bumper? That means that's going to be the point that touches the launching block. And as a result, that is, it's going to be hard to tell if this car is going to get a consistent launch. And that's usually the issue, is that cars need to get a consistent launch to perform well on our track. And in order to get a consistent launch, they really do need to have a flat back end or a lot of surface area touching the block. And when they just have tailpipes or fins or something strange touching, it hurts their performance overall. But let me get the still picture on this car. And there we go. And now let me grab this video. And yeah, it's always the car. I mean, that's, I guess, the definition of the sleeper car is the car that you don't expect much of, comes out of nowhere and takes the race. So we will see if that is this car, but I just don't know that it's going to be able to get a consistent push. I think if the back end was completely flat, I'd be more inclined to think that, yeah, this car is going to be fast. But I won't be surprised if it does well, but I'll be surprised if it consistently does well, because it's set up to just bounce around the track quite a bit. But this is car number 780. It's the Mini Cooper S Challenge. So we have that, and I'm going to check the year on that punk rod just to enter that in. 2023 is the year on that one. And this Mini Cooper, yeah, we'll see. We'll see if how it performs. It's a good-looking car. The neon speeders, all the special series, they go the extra mile with the graphics. So even with the little headlight decals there, pretty good-looking car. So we have the Mini Cooper S Challenge, we have the Crescendo, we have the Punk Rod, and then we have the two picks. We have the 16 Angels, and then we have Roughshod's pick, which is the original Gazella. And we will see, let me check the year on this car. This is 2022. Oh, let me see the weight. It feels light, but it is not all that light. It's 32.1 grams, so it's still heavier than the Punk Rod. But we will see what that means once it hits the track. And now let's see. I am going to. So I mentioned that sometimes I like to throw the students a curveball, or at least make their selection hard, because I want to see when they go to make their selection. Are they going to pick with their head? Are they going to pick based on everything we've learned about the science and aerodynamics and drag and all the different forces that could affect the car's performance? Or are they going to pick based on their heart? Like they see a car that is, maybe they like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so they pick the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle party bus. Or they like Frozen, so they pick the Frozen car. Or they like Spider-Man, so they pick one of the Spider-Man cars. Or one of the many Batmobiles we have. So, there are these character cars. And I don't usually pick these up, but when I was on vacation, back around Thanksgiving, I went in the store and they had a sale on some of these cars. And I ended up picking up this one, this Racerverse car. We have, and the back part is green, which is why it's being see-through, because there's a green screen. But this Bugs Bunny Racerverse car. And I know there's a Black Panther Racerverse car that we have in the fleet. And I think there may be one other one that might be Star Wars related. They have the character sticking up. It is not a good aerodynamic look, but if a student selects this car, then they have to go through the process of explaining. And as long as they can explain the reason for their pick, whether or not I necessarily agree with that, as long as they can think through and explain it, then it's fine with me. So this is the Bugs Bunny Racerverse car, and let's crack this open and take a look at it. All right, let's see here. And these character cars, I mean, they really put a lot of, I like the detail that they put into it, all of the little references and throwbacks and callbacks to different things related to the character. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Oh, not there. Here. And if this car didn't have the Bugs Bunny in it, if it didn't have the Bugs Bunny figure sticking out of the top, it might actually be competitive. But I think that having the figure sticking out of the top is not going to help it. So we will have to see how that all works out. But if you just look at the car by itself, even though it's a carrot, but it's essentially a a Lambo wedge, and that's not a problem. I think where it just will run into issues is with Bugs Bunny's head sticking up at the top. Even though with the ears are kind of streamlined, almost like a big wing, but I don't know. It's relatively compact, and it's got that going for it. But this is gonna be interesting to see how it performs. It's got the carrots on the side. It's got the Bugs Bunny, the two front teeth, the grill, and Bugs Bunny in there ready to race. So we will see. It most likely going to be a popular pick, but I think it's probably going to be more popular against the absolute youngest of the kids that I work with. So let me just check the year. Well, first I'll take the still picture, and then let's see. Zoom in here. The Bugs Bunny racer. Turn it just a bit. And we have the 781st car into the fleet. Yeah, now this one, this is going to be interesting, because how is the the airflow once it hits Bug's face, comes back over the ears. But if I was just talking about the car, this is actually not bad. So if it didn't have Bugs in there, we might be looking at a real challenger for the title. But it does. So the big question is going to be, how does the character sticking up his face when the air comes up, how is that going to affect the car's performance? Plus, it's taller, which means we're going to have to go to the tall acrylic lid, acrylic cover, and that I usually reserve for trucks, but sometimes the character cars require that as well. Let me check the year. The manufacturing year is 2023. How much does this Bugs Bunny car weigh? The character cars are usually heavier, and this one is 35.3 grams, which is not extremely heavy, but it is heavier than the other cars that are going to be racing today. But the character cars are usually, there's more metal, and this one is in fact all of the blue. Well, not all of the blue. Yes, all of the blue. All of the blue parts of this car are metal, so that's reason for its size. Bugs is plastic, and the other parts of the car are in fact plastic. So we have those. All right, so now let's see. We've got the Mini Cooper S Challenge. We've got this Bugs Bunny car. We've got the Punk Rod. We've got the Crescendo. So those are the four that are being entered into the fleet. But we need 6 to round out our race tournament for today. So I am going to pull Roughshod's Gazella, and I am going to pull out Jordan's 16 Angels. So I'm going to go look for those, and I'm going to throw up this, it's what I use for the students when we're having class. It's going to have a bathroom break graphic thing, because I haven't made any kind of graphic yet for when I'm actually searching for the cars. So I'm going to go pull these cars. The graphic's going to say like 5 minutes, but it's not going to take me that long. So I'm going to go pull these cars, and then I'll be right back.
dos, tres. Flash.
Okay. All right, let's see. So I have to double check because there's a group of cars that I've pulled out for it's like a special project. Like if there's the normal All About Aerodynamics program is 3 weeks long, the full program. But sometimes there's just kind of one-off sort of special assemblies or one-day programs. And I pulled out a group of cars from the fleet to use in those programs. Well, it turns out that both of the car that Roughshod picked and the car that Jordan picked aren't in the usual places with the fleet. They're in that special group of cars that I pull out, so they were in a different location. But let's take a look first at, let me get the turntable on, at the 16 Angels car. Let's see. And this is interesting. So it's just got such a wild design that it's hard to predict how it is going to perform. And still looking for Roughshod's pick. Where is that Gazella? Oh, here it is. Okay. All right. Now I found the car. So now we're ready to go. Okay. So let's see. The 16 Angels. This comes around the back end. Lock in the focus. Let's start with the back end. How's the back end looking? So the back end has these 2 points here, and those are going to be the only parts that are touching the launching block. Those two edges right there, those 2 points. So I don't know what kind of consistent push it's going to get. Again, a flat back end tends to work out better, but there's no guarantee. We don't know until we actually race the cars. It is a plastic body on a metal base. Let's see how much it weighs. And let's see, Jordan has the yellow version. Nice. And so this one comes in at 30.2 grams. So it's definitely on the lighter side. So all this plastic, so it does have a metal base, but everything else is all plastic, and so it doesn't have a lot of weight to it. So that's a good solid weight. And I don't know about, so the front end here being, if it was a little more pointed, came to more of a point, then I might be a little more inclined to think, all right, this car is going to have a pretty easy time cutting through that air. But I don't know how this flat front end is going to impact the car, but we will see. That's why we have to take the cars to the track, because until you actually race the cars, you just never know. You're just guessing. You might have a guess based on something, but still just guessing. Next up, we've got the Gazella GT. This is Roughshod's pick. And actually, let me check the weight on the Gazella. Gazella GT, 31.1 grams. That's what we've got. 31.1 grams. The Gazella GT. And of course, the Gazella GT is very much in line and similar to the actual Gazella, or the Gazella R, which is the current fastest in fleet champion. So let's take a closer look and see. So we've got, so this is the back end on the Gazella, and it does have this that flat piece right there is going to be, that's a plus. So that is what's going to press up against the launching block. If we take a look at the Gazella R, it has that same piece back there, right there at the bottom, but what it also has is that wing sticking out, and that wing is what presses up against the launching block for the Gazella R. With the Gazella GT, it is going to be this lower piece right here that actually presses up against the launching block. The weight of the Gazella, which I think I just already took, 31.1 grams. The Gazella R, 32.1. So the Gazella R, which is our fastest in fleet champion, is about a gram heavier, and it's got an extra piece to it, so that all makes sense. So we take a look at these cars here, and let me drop this in for a little bit of contrast. You can kind of get a look and see the car. It's essentially the same car. It's just one has a wing and one does not. And I actually know, because when I look at the front, like by the windshield, this area here on the hood, front of the car, so there are little subtle design differences. Yeah, the fronts, they're a little different. And now when we look at the back ends seem fairly similar, except on the Gazella GT, it's a solid piece. On the Gazella R, they have little cutouts for the tail lights. And actually, one thing I am interested in is I realized on this car that there was a little, that you could make an adjustment in the front. Oh no, the front ends are both the same, very similar as they come around. So these cars are pretty much, it's just some slight differences. So I'm thinking that if they both get the same good solid launches, that they will do well on the track. So today we have the Gazella GT, we have the Punk Rod, we have the Crescendo, we have Bugs Bunny, we have 16 Angels, and we have the Mini Cooper S Challenge. Does it? So I can't, well, let me, so it's hard to tell how they, let me take it off this. I have this little block so they don't roll off the podium. And yeah, I think you're right. Well, it's hard to say. I think it's kind of the angle of the camera. When I'm kind of looking at these, I think they're both, it looks like the GT is sitting a little lower. It may be. If it is, it's slightly. I think the camera angle is making it look a little more exaggerated, like the difference a little bit more exaggerated than it actually is. But we're gonna find out. This should be a good race, because I think if that GT gets a good launch, then it should be right there in the finals. And we are going to hit the track in just a few moments. So let me go over this. If you have never watched an all about aerodynamics at the track live race before, here is what you are about to see. You are going to see our 3-camera view. The cars are going to start off at the top left in our start camera view. The launcher is at the top of the screen, the top left. I will put the cars in the launcher. I'll give a countdown, 3, 2, 1, race. I will release the cars. The cars will come flying out of the launcher. They will come from the top of the screen to the bottom of the screen. They will pass out of the bottom of the screen on the left and show up at the top of the screen in the middle. The cars will then come from the top to the bottom through the center section of our track, and then they will show up on the far right at the top of the screen, and they will come from top to bottom, and they will cross our finish line, and the car that wins the race will be indicated with a solid red light. The car that loses will have a flashing red light. So winning car, solid red light. Losing car will have a flashing red light. If the cars happen to crash, if a car crashes and leaves the track, then we throw out the results of that race and we start all over. And we race the cars. If a car crashes twice consecutively, it is eliminated. Because if a car crashes twice consecutively, there is usually a reason and a problem that can't be fixed by just rerunning the race over and over again. So, after the first race, cars will switch lanes, and it's best 2 out of 3, and we will see which car is going to be today's winner, and then which car will end up taking on the Gazella R. So, we are just moments away. Let me make sure I've got all the cars. We've got all of these lined up. Let me see. 4, 5, 6. Yep. We are good to go. So I will see you over at the track in 30 seconds. Okay, let me just double check the audio real quick. And oh, there is one other thing I forgot to do here. Let's see. I see the audio is working, but I forgot to move the comments window so that I could see. Okay, here we go. We have 6 cars lined up. Which of these cars is going to be the car to take out or take on? Take out is a little presumptuous. Which car is going to be the one to take on the champ? And let's go ahead. I'm curious about this Bugs Bunny car. Let me get this old clear speeder test car off the track. I think this first race is going to be Punk Rod versus Bugs Bunny. And I am going to need to see and make sure that the Bugs Bunny car have a taller acrylic cover. Is it going to? Nope. You know what? Bugs Bunny, the Bugs Bunny car, Bugs is too tall. And I'll show you here. Basically, the Bugs Bunny car, the top of Bugs Bunny's head is hitting the top of this acrylic cover, even the bigger one that I have for trucks. So let me think. You know what? I might be able to do this. I'm going to make this. I'll do this. The Bugs Bunny car definitely cannot be in the fleet at this height. But I think I have a way that it might be able to actually race just so we can see what it can do. So I'm going to try this out. All right, let's see. I'm going to put Bugs Bunny in lane 1. And then we will have, and it's weird because we've had other character cars. I remember the Black Panther car, and that fit. But well, actually, I'll put the Bugs Bunny car in lane 2, the Punk Rod in lane 1. Punk Rod lines up like a traditional car in our fleet. Bugs Bunny, not so much. All right, so Bugs Bunny's in lane 2. I'm going to try this out. And here we go, hopefully. Race number 1, Bugs Bunny versus, oh, and then there's another issue because Bugs Bunny may run into the tripod being that tall. We will find out. Let's just see if we can get Bugs out of the starting block first. All right, Bugs Bunny's in lane 2, and the Punk Rod is in lane 1. Here we go, race 1. 3, 2, 1, race. Wow. Okay. So Bugs Bunny took that race with ease, and this might be a problem because wow. Okay, I'm a little speechless. The Bugs Bunny car, I did not expect to do that, but it is fast. And we kind of talked about the aerodynamic profile and how would the actual Bugs Bunny sticking out of the top, how would that impact the car's performance? And I guess it didn't negatively impact it. So we're going to switch sides because that Bugs Bunny car won by a lot. So Bugs Bunny is now in lane 1. And the Punk Rod, the Lamborghini F1 hybrid car, is in lane 2 and had better step up its game so that it can move on and force a third and final race. So, all right, Bugs Bunny's now in lane 1. We have the Punk Rod in lane 2. This is race 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Oh! Bugs took it again. And the crazy part is that the Bugs Bunny car was not in the lead at the beginning. The Bugs Bunny car tracked down the Punk Rod and took the race. See, and this is, I love it because this is why you have to race the cars. You can have your ideas about how a car is going to perform. You can think you can have, maybe you've watched a lot of races, maybe you've conducted a lot of races, but until the cars get on the track, you just never know. So Bugs Bunny is moving on in this tournament. All right, next up, let's go with we'll go with Jordan 16 Angels against this Mini Cooper S. And see if we can have another surprise today. Can the Mini Cooper S come out and show us something that we weren't expecting to happen? I don't know, but again, this is why we race the cars. So we are going to put the Mini Cooper in lane 1. And as expected, it's just got those two tailpipes that are touching the launching block, which typically wouldn't be a good thing. 16 Angels lines up, and it is, let me get it positioned correctly. I want to get these cars pressed right up against the launching block, because if they're not right up against the launching block will punch the cars out instead of pushing them out, and there's a big difference. So, all right, we've got 16 Angels in lane 2. We've got the Mini Cooper in lane 1. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. Whew. 16 Angels destroyed the Mini Cooper in the first race, but we are going to switch lanes and see if it can repeat that, or maybe the Mini Cooper just got a bad launch, which happens. So it's part of the reason why we have to have 2 out of 3, just to make sure that there's no car claims an advantage out of one lane versus the other, and we can make sure that if a car got a bad launch, it has a chance to come back and redeem itself in the next race. So 16 Angels is now in lane 1. The Mini Cooper S Challenge is in lane number 2. The cars are lined up and ready to go. Here we go, race number 2. If 16 Angels takes it, it's moving on. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. Woo. Okay, so the Mini Cooper got a better launch and actually took that race. So we will be going to a third and final race between the Mini Cooper S Challenge and 16 Angels. And we will find out which of these cars is going to be the one to move on and join the Bugs Bunny car in the next round. So we're coming back here and going to go and move the Mini Cooper back to lane 1 and 16 Angels to lane 2. And if I can get it lined up properly, again, that is key. It's got to press up right against the launching block. Otherwise, we are not going to get a good push. All right. 16 Angels lane 2, Mini Cooper S Challenge in lane 1. This is the second, this is the third and final race. Whichever car takes it is moving on. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. Whew. That 16 Angels likes lane 2 because it took off and didn't look back. That race was not close. It was more like the first race. So 16 Angels is moving on along with the Bugs Bunny car. And next up, we are going to go with the Gazella GT versus the Crescendo. And this is an interesting race because these cars share a similar kind of design and look and feel. So we will see how that translates to their performance on the track. I'm going to put the Gazella in lane 2. And I'm going to put the Crescendo in lane 1. These cars are lined up. They are ready to go. And here we go. So again, Gazella GT in lane 2, Crescendo lane 1, race 1. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. Woo. Okay, Crescendo takes it. Both those cars were fast. I can just tell that just in watching that race, and those two cars. Those are two very fast cars, but the Crescendo took it. We are going to switch lanes. So we may not get to see unless it's going to have to pull out 2 races in a row. Otherwise, we won't get to see the Gazella R versus the Gazella GT matchup. But it has definitely happened before where a car has lost the first race, come back, pulled out 2 races. So the Gazella GT is now in lane 1. The Crescendo is in lane 2. There we go. All right, cars are lined up. Race number 2, Gazella lane 1, Crescendo lane 2, race 2. Let's see what happens. Three, 2, 1, race. Woo! Crescendo took it and took it without any question. That was a definitive, kind of clear statement win, and we will see how that works out moving forward, because I think, well, with the Gazella, it's hard to tell if how much of a difference that wing makes. And we know that the Blitz Speeder had a wing, and the Gazella R has a wing, and we are going to find out which of these cars is going to challenge the Gazella R. So next up, we're going to go Bugs Bunny versus 16 Angels and see how that works out. If the Bugs Bunny, oh yeah, I've got to change up the covers here. Set the launcher. Bugs Bunny, the most surprising car of the day, is going to be in lane 1. 16 Angels will be in lane 2. The Bugs Bunny, this carrot car, this carrot racer, shocked me in the first round, but here we are, and we are going to find out if that was just a one-off win or if the Bugs Bunny car is actually going to push on into the finals. So here we go, race number 1. We've got the Bugs Bunny car in lane 1. We've got the 16 Angels in lane 2. Wait, let me get this adjusted so it's pressed up against the launching block. Sometimes the cars roll off, and again, the difference between a car getting punched out of the launching block and a car getting pushed out of the launching block is huge. So, all right, cars are lined up. Bugs Bunny lane 1, 16 Angels lane 2, race 1. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. Woo. 16 Angels car crashed, and we will just restart that race. And it's not unusual to have crashes when I have to use the taller acrylic cover for a taller car, because the smaller car ends up not having the benefit of the acrylic cover. And the acrylic cover is meant to keep these cars on the track. I had to design those because the cars were flying off the track, because they're coming out of the launcher with so much force that they were just flying off the track. That was no good. So I had to come up with a way to keep them on the track, and the way to do that is with these acrylic covers that slide over the top of the cars to prevent them from flying off in the first few feet of the track. But while it helps, in this case, I have to use the taller acrylic cover for the Bugs Bunny car to keep that on the track. It's not helpful to the smaller car, in this case, the 16 Angels. So we're going to start this race again and see if we can keep this car on the track. Bugs Bunny lane 1, 16 Angels lane 2. All right. Three, 2, 1, race. So the Bugs Bunny car took it, but again, it's not. I'm not going to say that it's not fair. I saw some movement from the 16 Angels car that I didn't see when it had the shorter acrylic cover on it, meaning that if it had, let me see if I can figure this out, because essentially the 16 Angels car is not getting the benefit of the acrylic cover that would otherwise keep it on the track. So it's flying up into the air, and then it's landing and staying on the track, but the idea is to minimize the amount of time that it spends going up into the air. So what I'm going to do, we're going to run that one again. And So Bugs Bunny's going to be in lane 1. And we're going to have the 16 Angels in lane 2. And I think I know what I'm going to do. All right. I am going to use the other acrylic cover. Okay, I've got an idea. I've got it worked out. All right, so we're going to restart. Throw out the results of that last race. I've got a way that I'm going to keep the 16 Angels in place on the track without flying into the air, and also do the same for the Bugs Bunny car. And so this is basically race 1. We've got Bugs Bunny lane 1, 16 Angels lane 2, race 1. Here we go. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. There we go. And as I thought, once I was able to keep the 16 Angels car on the track, it was able to defeat the Bugs Bunny car. Not that I thought necessarily that it would defeat it, but it didn't fly up into the air. And by not flying up into the air, that allowed it to stay on the track. And once it stayed on the track, it maintained its speed and beat out the Bugs Bunny car. So we're going to switch lanes. I'm going to do this whole setup again. And I'm actually kind of hoping that the 16 Angels car can win this race, because it's just too much of a hassle what I have to do to make sure that the Bugs Bunny car gets a fair shot along with the other cars. So I'm going to put Bugs Bunny in lane number 2 and put the 16 Angels in lane 1. If the 16 Angels can pull out this next win, it will move on to the finals against the Crescendo. So here we go. This is race number 2, 16 Angels lane 1, Bugs Bunny car lane 2, and here we go. Getting these all lined up, set up. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. Bugs Bunny said, "Hold on, I'm not ready to leave yet. I don't care what you have to do to adjust this track. I am not ready to leave." So we're going to a third and final race. It is going to be 16 Angels versus Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny took race number 2. 16 Angels took race number 1. And we're going to find out if I'm going to have to keep setting up this contraption to hold these races. So let me get the cars lined up again. This time, Bugs Bunny will return to lane number 1. And the 16 Angels car will be in lane number 2. And here we go. Let's see. Get this. All right. The cars are lined up. And here we go. Race number 3. Bugs Bunny lane 1. 16 Angels lane 2. Here, get this all lined up. Bugs ready to go. 16 Angels, here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. 16 Angels takes it, but Bugs was closing like crazy in that last third of the track. And if this track had been about 2 feet longer, I think Bugs would have caught him. But it's not 2 feet longer. It is just over 20 feet. And the Bugs Bunny car is now going to be set aside. And we are going to move on to our finals matchup, which is going to be the Crescendo versus the 16 Angels. And the Crescendo car looked pretty fast in its opening matchup, but how it looked against one car doesn't necessarily mean it's going to look that way against the next car it faces. So let's go set this up. We're going to go 16 Angels in lane 2. We are going to go Crescendo lane 1. And we are ready for our finals matchup. Crescendo lane 1, 16 Angels lane 2. Here we go. Race number 1. Three, two, one, race. The 16 Angels car had the lead, and just like what happened with the Bugs Bunny car, towards the tail end of the track, it starts slowing down. And that's when the Crescendo caught it and beat it. The Crescendo was not in the lead from the beginning. It was only at the end. And I think that when we were talking about the front end of the 16 Angels and how it's flat, it could be that the drag and that the air is just serving to slow this car down, because in the last 3 races, it's been caught. Bugs Bunny caught it in the race that it won. The Bugs Bunny car almost caught it at the end of the last race. And then in this race, 16 Angels was out to a lead. And then the Crescendo caught it at the end. So this car does slow down. And that is one of the things that I would have the students observe, because the drag is one of those forces that impacts the speed of the car. So we are going to race number 2. We've got the Crescendo in lane 2. We've got the 16 Angels in lane 1. This is race number 2. If the Crescendo takes it, it's moving on to face the Gazella. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. And the Crescendo took that one with ease, and the 16 Angels had a good little run there. But we are going to go with the matchup of the Crescendo versus the Gazella R. The Gazella R has only been tested a couple of times, but its big claim to fame is that it beat the Blitz Speeder. So we are going to find out if the Gazella R is going to be a long-term champion, start its continue winning, or if it's going to be taken out by the upcomer, which is the Crescendo, which is in lane 2. The Gazella R, our fastest in fleet champion, is in lane 1. We will see if the Gazella R is going to be challenged. So Gazella R lane 1, Crescendo lane 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Wow. Gazella R, no problem whatsoever, blew the doors off the Crescendo, and the Crescendo has its work cut out for it, because, as I said, the Gazella R hasn't had that many defenses of its title. However, what we do know is that the Gazella beat the Blitz Speeder. And I know I keep saying that, but that's a big deal, because that Blitz Speeder was so fast for so long. And we're going to find out if the Crescendo is worthy to even be in the conversation. But in order to do that, it's going to have to take 2 races. And that's a lot to ask. But we'll see what happens. Crescendo's lining up in lane number 1. We have the Gazella R lined up in lane 2. And we are ready to go. Race number 2, Gazella R in lane 2, Crescendo lane 1. Three, two, one, race. Wow. Okay. It's like the Crescendo was stuck in the mud, but the Gazella R is still our fastest in fleet champion by a mile. And let me gather up these cars, head back into the garage, and take a look at some of the winners, some of the losers, and our big surprise car of the day. So I'll be right back in there in just a minute. Okay, so the Gazella R remains our fastest in fleet champion. And yeah, Jordan, you just missed it. So the 16 Angels, it did well. And I don't know which of the races you saw, but it faced the Bugs Bunny car, and the Bugs Bunny car was interesting. That was our surprise of the day, because the Bugs Bunny car was fast. We had to do some modifications to make sure that that both cars could stay on the track. So 16 Angels beat the Bugs Bunny car. And then we had the second race. The Bugs Bunny car came back, beat 16 Angels. Then we went to the third race, and the 16 Angels car beat out the Bugs Bunny car. But what we kept finding out, Jordan, was that the 16 Angels car, let me put it up here so we can kind of take a look at this, is the 16 Angels car would come out fast and it would be in the lead. But then what would happen is at the back end of the track, the car would start to slow down. And when the car would start to slow down, then the other cars had a chance to catch it. So what we saw in the last 3 races with the 16 Angels was it got out to a lead against the Bugs Bunny car, and then it started to slow down toward the back end, and the Bugs Bunny car caught it and beat it. The next race, 16 Angels got out to a lead, started to slow down at the back end of the track, and then the Bugs Bunny car almost caught it, but didn't. Then when the 16 Angels car went up against the Crescendo, the same thing happened. The 16 Angels got out to a big lead, and then it started to slow down, and then the Crescendo caught it. And the reason why, I believe, is because of this, the front end, because of this big flat front end, that the air, again, drag is the faster these cars move, the faster any object moves through the air, the more drag impacts the car's performance and the speed. So what I think happens is that this car gets off to a good launch because of the weight and because of the design, But as it gets towards the back end of the track, we know it's not the weight that's slowing it down. But I think that all that air that it has to push through because of the design of this flat front end, it starts to slow down at the back end of the track, and the other cars catch it. We saw the Bugs Bunny car do it twice, even though only one time was it successful. And we saw it happen with the Crescendo. The Crescendo definitely was not in the lead, and 16 Angels was ahead of it. But then you could see toward the back end, the Crescendo kept its speed up, and the 16 Angels started to slow down. So that was what happened with the 16 Angels. It had a good performance, and it made it to the finals, but it couldn't get it done. The Bugs Bunny car was, I guess, the surprise car of the day, and it was much faster than expected. And if it didn't have this ridge here, if it was just the top of Bugs Bunny's head without the ears, then we could probably get away with this car just being in our taller acrylic launcher, or the taller cover. But just to get this car to race, because it was just a little too tall right here, I had to manipulate the acrylic cover, and it's a hassle. So I'm kind of glad that the Bugs Bunny car didn't win. But on the other hand, I'm surprised at how fast it was. And I might actually have to try and race it without a cover, because sometimes cars don't necessarily need the cover to stay on the track. But usually I use it just to be safe, and just so you kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. This is the taller acrylic cover, and basically it's got a little lift on it, about a 1/4 inch lift here, and basically what happens is this sits on top of the track, the launcher, so that when the cars come out, if they're going to go up into the air, they'll go up into the air, they'll hit this, and then they'll come back on the track. And it happens very quickly, and that's why this thing isn't very long, because it's almost happens right as soon as the cars launch. They come out, boom, hit that, and go back on the track. The problem is that the usual acrylic cover I use is lower, because we're using cars that are don't need all that height. So what you want is the car to hit the acrylic cover immediately and then come back down. The higher this is, that means the more time the car is going to spend going up into the air before it hits it, and then it's going to have to come back down. So even though the difference is just about, a 1/4 inch, it makes a big difference to these cars. So what was happening is I had to use this taller acrylic cover and even add something to kind of boost it up, so that the Bugs Bunny car could have enough space to operate without scraping the top. So it would come out, hit the top, stay on the track. The problem is that now what that means for the smaller cars is they have to go up a 1/4 inch higher, hit the top, and then come back down. So that's what happened with the 16 Angels in that race that it lost, that first race that it lost to the Bugs Bunny car, is that it went so far up into the air that when it hit the acrylic cover and came back down, it wobbled a little bit and lost speed. So I had to figure out a way to slide something on top of that car to keep it on the track and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point is, when I was able to keep the 16 Angels on the track, it was fine. But because of this Bugs Bunny car, because of Bugs Bunny's ears, then that means that I had to do a whole bunch of things to keep it on the track. Nevertheless, bottom line, this car is fast, and if it wasn't a character car, then I would get another one, try and take off Bugs Bunny's ears, and see if I could race it then and see what would happen. But that would be blasphemy to take off Bugs Bunny's ears. So if somebody picks the Bugs Bunny car, we'll just have to figure out a way to make it work. But the bottom line is that at the end of the day, the car that is our fastest in fleet champion remains the Gazella R. And the races that it had we're not close, and I don't know how long this car is going to be champion. This is its third defense, and I think that you know, we're gonna see how long it can maintain its position. But this is a fast car, and I've said it multiple times. I'll continue to say it. It beat the Blitz Speeder. And if you haven't been watching At The Track Live, then go back. You can watch all of the episodes. And Jordan, you asked, all of the episodes are going to be available to go back and watch on YouTube. This one will be available as soon as we end, and then about, you know, within an hour or two, I will go in and add the time codes, so then you can just jump to the part of the episode that you want to see. But all of the episodes are there. If you go to our YouTube page and click the Live tab, all of the episodes are there. And if you want to see just how dominant the Blitz Speeder was, go back and look at some of those episodes and some of those races that it had, and you will see how fast that car was. So the fact that the Gazella R beat the Blitz Speeder is a big deal, and I will continue to mention it until the Gazella R gets near the 17-week reign that the Blitz Speeder had. But this is a fast car. So we've seen the cars that have been competitive with it. I thought the Crescendo would be closer. I didn't think it would get blown out the way it did. It looked fast. It had the right kind of profile. The weight was pretty good. I was surprised that the Gazella GT didn't do better. However, I think with the Gazella GT, it's the launch point, and I'm starting to think that cars that press up against the launching block, if the part of the car that's most touching the launching block is higher, so for example on this one, the wing up here is what's touching, it feels like that's helping the cars get a better push, but it's hard to say. If in fact the Gazella the Gazella GT, it was only getting a push from down below. But these cars are pretty much similar. They were similar in weight, they were similar in design, and really the biggest difference was this wing here. So, but the Gazella GT didn't make it to the finals to race the Gazella R, so we didn't get to see a head-to-head matchup, but it's still pretty interesting. Either way, this is the fast car. This is our champion. And if you want to pick a car, if you want to challenge the Gazella R, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, go to our page, scroll through, and find the car that you want to challenge. We are up to 781 cars in the fleet. And as of next week, we will have 6 more, because we're here every Saturday racing cars and adding cars to the fleet, having fun with Hot Wheels, and looking for a car that can beat out our existing fastest in fleet champion. Of course, if you want more information about all about aerodynamics and want to keep up with what's happening, go there. AA Aerodynamics. And I am still keeping tabs. I'm waiting on the, I have ordered that 1/64th scale wind tunnel, and the company that's doing it, I see that they've sent them out to influencers, and I see that they're doing their quality control testing and all of that stuff. So I'm hoping to get that, that device in pretty soon, so that we can also start to take a look at how the air actually flows over, under, and around these cars. It's a great product, and I hope that it comes out, shows up, and works the same way that they've described it and that I've seen on the videos. So that is coming. By the time we show up next time, it will be 2025. So this is our last race of 2024. Happy New Year, Roughshod. Happy New Year to everyone watching, and I will see you in 2025 at the races. See ya.